Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's not a good morning, though, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. We're doing what Jewish communities around the country are doing right now, which is trying to figure out how to do what we normally do in the face of this kind of darkness. So that's what we're doing. And today is our first class back from the holidays, back from what should have been a week of joy, which turned out to be one of the darkest weekends of Jewish history. And people said, and I said, even at Yom Kippur service, that this was the nightmare that everybody had. Could it happen? Everybody knew it could happen, but would it happen? Nobody thought it would happen. So, the people who've likened it to the Yom Kippur War have kind of missed the point. The closest that we really have to this in Jewish history is the Holocaust. So that's the reality. And I talked to one of the Holocaust survivors that I'm closest to, Margot Webb, and she might be here in a moment today because unfortunately she's lived 96 years and has now lived to see this come back in her own life.
You heard on the news saying that there hasn't been this many deaths since the holiday.
Yeah. So as Mike says, that some of the news reports have said that this is the biggest day of Jewish death since the Holocaust. And also not just the numbers, but the manner of these attacks, because again, as opposed to the Yom Kippur War, where 2,500 Jews were killed, even the 6-Day War, nothing like this has happened where babies have been butchered and women raped and murdered. This, you have to go back to pogroms even. So
I was gonna, Rabbi, I was gonna say, everybody here, right? We're all our years. The bombings, the bus bombings, the intifadas. This is the first time, I think, it's like an extreme pogrom. We read in the Bible, in the Torah, right, about these things happening. We see it in musicals that we go and watch, but we've actually watched the reality of one, and it's just horrible.
Yeah. So this is the nightmare, as I've told people. This is the nightmare that that I had as a kid growing up. Every kid who's raised in the specter of the Holocaust, I think at one point or another, had a dream that it was a nightmare that you wake up from, and you get up in the morning and go, whew. I somehow got transported back in time to 1941 and had a nightmare of something that I read. But you woke up to reality and you said, well, that was just a nightmare. And what's happened now is that it's turned out that our nightmare is real, and that is impossible for us to wrap our heads around, because it is the worst thing that we could imagine brought to life. So that's what's happened in our last week. So
About the other rally that's happening at the same time?
The counter rally, yes. Yeah, so Mike just brought up that there's a counter rally that people are rallying against Israel, I don't know, you know, I could also say they're rallying for to support murder and
They're gonna be placed there tonight?
yeah. Yeah, so he asks, are there gonna be police? Yeah. There are police. We've coordinated with them. Sheldon. Yeah, we're starting. And what we've coordinated with the police and with, with the sheriff's department out here, which is our police, that is our, you know, look, I'm interested to see who shows up to this because again, you know, if people are coming to support what happened, I mean, you know, they need to be essentially monitored because these are people who are going to encourage, I mean, they're going to encourage rape and murder in Israel. What stops them from also encouraging that here? So I think you have to kind of look at people who are doing this, engaged in this, and say, look, you know, you have a right to have different views on Israel's settlement of the West Bank, and you know, there are sides and there are nuances to the Middle East situation. There's not a nuanced situation to beheading babies. There's not a nuanced situation to raping people over the dead bodies of their friends. So there's not a nuance to that. So anybody who comes out to support that is essentially, you have to wonder what their values are and what they're capable of doing in another situation. So look, you know, you could say, well, they're misguided or whatever, but everybody has access to this information. This is not, unfortunately, hidden. You know, I would say the problem with this pogrom was that it was videotaped and the evidence is there, but it also, you know, I'm not watching it, just so you understand. I don't watch this stuff. And I don't need to watch it to anger me or to make me see it. I know what's happening and I don't need to see it. I don't. But people have the access to the information. So
I have
let's
a
see.
neighbor, not Rich, but another neighbor that's from Israel.
Uh-huh.
He was actually born in Russia and he made Aliyah to Israel, came back, moved out here.
Yeah.
He has family there. I asked him, is your family okay? Safe.
Can you talk up a little bit? So I want people to hear you, Mike.
He said that his family is safe for now, but nobody's safe in Israel right now. So he's very worried, he's upset, but you know, there's really right now nothing he can do. His son wants to go, you know, he has a son in his 20s, he wants to go fight. It's just,
He should.
He may, I don't know.
I have a colleague in his, what is Ronan? 50s? He's not his 50s yet, right? Yeah, we're both fit. If it happened on my soil, he served. Anyway, whatever. He's dealing with right now. He's got 2 little kids. Tel Aviv. He's 85 kilometers away. His parents, his dad is not wandering the streets, but he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about the bombs. So the emoji from my buddy is, oh, well, he's just one of those guys. So I'm in constant contact with him. I'm giving him real-time intel that he may not be getting from his own media. It's pretty interesting.
That's surprising. I mean, the Israelis, you know, I'm talking to them about what they're hearing and I know that, I mean, they're getting their information on I mean, look, I don't know that they're not getting I would think that through the different sources that Israelis trust, that they're getting pretty good information. I mean,
You know, one thing he told me, he said that through his contacts, that a lot of the I think that the nastiest stuff is starting to be revealed. That a lot of that was trying to be withheld from, not withheld. That's not the right word. Protected, I guess, because some of it's really bad on what happened, and it's happening. Well, I guess it's
Sanitized.
so
Yeah, well,
anyway,
yeah, the
it's horrible.
the Israeli government was trying to was trying to keep it off of sites, but it's gonna be up and it's gonna be up, and yeah, Israelis are gonna have to see it. And again, you know, people have said it's you know, how much angrier can you make, you know, how much
Yeah.
upset can you make the people? I don't see how you can, but look, today we're going to gather together to pray, to offer up prayers of support for the people of Israel, for the soldiers of Israel that are now going to be called in to action. You know, that's obviously what I'm doing a lot right now, is talking to friends and family who have kids that are getting called up right now. Because that's the next phase of this, is that, you know, the innocent civilians who were murdered, again, to some extent, that was murder, and that was a shock and everything else. What's hard for us to imagine is the people right now who have kids that they know are going to get called up. They absolutely know that some of those kids are going to die. And it's not going to be a surprise, because people die in war, and you just don't know whether it's your kid or not. And it's that, you know, shock and surprise and tragedy is a whole nother level and has a whole different set of emotions and responses. But knowing that you're sending your children off to maybe die, knowing that's something that's difficult to process, because you know it and you see it in front of you, and you know the moment before, you know the moment that you said goodbye to them, and you know that that might be the last time you ever see them. Not like the shock of, you know, having somebody, you know, essentially be killed in a car accident, or have a, you know, horrible instant heart attack, that an aneurysm, and they're taken from you, and then you deal with the shock of that. It's a whole nother thing. But when you like literally know, as you're sending someone away, that it's the last time that you could see them, and you do it willingly, and you do it knowing that you don't have a choice, but at the same time, you know, what can you do? That's also a whole nother level of sadness and again, something that a lot of us haven't had to deal with, thankfully. So yeah, so today we're gathering here. People are gathering around the country at different rallies. You know, some people have written about the sad fact that there's, you know, counter rallies, that there are even in some cases Jews that are making apologies for this. You know, look, I don't know what to tell you. There's always been people who have been on the wrong side of history. There always have been, unfortunately, people in our own community who have either intentionally or unintentionally tried to subvert and hurt our own community from the inside. I don't know what to tell you. I that's the sad thing about what we're about to see, which is we're going to see people that that are going to really disappoint us and anger us. And it's tough. You know, my kids have asked me, what are you going to do if some of these people, you know, get in your face and are near you? And I said, look, I'm not going to hit anybody first, but as one of my daughters said, it will not be pretty if somebody, you know, does something or hurt somebody else pushes me. So I'm just telling you, I'm not going there hoping for a fight. I'm going there hoping that no one will show up to support rapists and murderers.
There will be.
But there will be, yeah. I mean, as Mike said, they're already saying that they're going to be there. There were 800 comments this morning on
Oh,
what's
really?
on WhatsApp SEV.
Yes, you don't do WhatsApp. A friend of Mary.
I don't either. But my kids did, and my daughters were reading it to me last night. And I won't go on it, but yeah, there were 800 comments on WhatsApp. What's up SEV, and most of them were negative and angry that the city is doing this, and maybe when the city sees how many people are upset about it, they're going to cancel it. I mean, they have no idea that, you know, that the mayor of our city, as soon as I called him, he never blinked. I mean, he was like, yeah, we're doing it. Of course we're doing it. So that's yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but
Well, there will be a lot more Jews there.
yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm
You
going to tell you this now, folks. I don't even think I told my wife yet this. So she doesn't know this. But I'll tell you something tonight. So we're doing this, and there happens to be a city council meeting that, you know, tonight.
Is this inside City Hall?
No, it's out in front. So I just got, I got a text from the mayor telling me, showing me the demonstration for the Palestinians that they scheduled. So make it clear, this was scheduled because of what we're doing. I mean, just so you understand, there was no rally for Palestine if we hadn't scheduled what we did. So just make that clear. This was, I want you to know that, right? I want you to know that, as I said, this is what I haven't told Tracy yet this. I'm looking for the text because I want to read it to you. This came in last night. Hi, Rabbi Mark. Words can't express my sorrow about what has happened. It's my turn to give the invocation at tomorrow's city council meeting, and I would like you to give the invocation if you're available. Please let me know. Marcia McLean.
Marcia's great. She's a friend of ours.
So that's what Marcia said.
She's a great artist.
Rabbi, if you could take a moment, I know I don't have no idea. I'm sure it's Mike and Sheldon and Mary there. Not sure who else is there, but it's.
Well, I was kind of waiting. I was kind of waiting because she might be on her way. I was waiting also for Margot to come. She asked to come today, but yeah, go on. Sorry.
I'm having, everybody always asks me how much anti-Semitism I dealt with in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And I only dealt with it once.
Yeah.
That I know of, and I took care of it swiftly. But you see about it, you see it, you hear about it a little bit, but what I don't. This isn't. I'm at a loss for words. I want you to, if you can, just kind of discuss the topic. It's I'm having a hard time. Even at 62 years old, I'm having a hard time processing. Every time we're in Torah starting the last couple of years, I've always asked you, we must have done something really horrible long ago for this to happen. And I'm just having a hard time, processing it. That's all.
I think everyone is, John. I mean, I think people look for reasons and for, look, I mean, this is the whole question of the Holocaust to begin with, right? How can humanity be capable of this? How can the Jews be the targets? And all of this, has a spiritual dimension to it. But the Jewish tradition on this that goes back even to some extent to the Talmud, not so much to the Bible, but to the Talmud, to the Talmudic period, which is the time of the Romans, which was a fairly brutal period, and to some extent was almost a combination to some extent of the Holocaust with elements of national situation. Because remember, in the Holocaust, the Jews didn't have a country, and so were victims in their own countries, their countries they lived. But the Romans attacked Israel as a country too. There's a national dimension. So it's kind of like Hamas mixed with the Holocaust, mixed with things that we don't even have today, because thankfully we live in a world where there's oftentimes accountability. Sometimes it takes years. The other issue is the Roman Empire was in power for 500 years, so 400 years. So it was a long, brutal period. It wasn't like the 10 years of the Third Reich. It's 400 years, 500 years of the Roman Empire having control of at least the land of Israel until the Byzantine period. It was under Roman authority. So the rabbis responded to this situation with a mixture of kind of like, well, we have to survive, right? And we have to figure out a way to survive, with also trying to figure out, how does God allow this kind of stuff to happen, and why doesn't God intervene anymore? And essentially, the rabbis kind of came up with their answer, which has kind of been the answer for thousands of years, is that 1,500 years, 1,800 years, that we understand that God is clearly hands off with the world now, because we should know better, right? And so because we have the Torah, because we have the Bible, we have a blueprint for trying to protect life, right? And at the very basic minimum, and allowing for other countries to have their own laws and their own rules, that there is protection to stop evil at its basic level. And so God isn't going to intervene, because God's given us the power to take care of this ourselves, and we're supposed to, right? And so if we don't, then we're responsible for this, not God. Now, some people don't like that, but look, the reality is that if God's given us the power to do all these other things ourselves, then we have to take responsibility for all of this, right? We have to take responsibility for everything, everything that happens, along the lines of, these bigger issues of how do these horrible atrocities get committed in a world that, is at least was created by God. So again, we have to take responsibility for it. We have to say that this is on us. This is on humanity. And the worst things that we've seen, which kind of are these are on us.
I was kind of reminded when you talk about the destruction of the Second Temple, how the Jews were, and I guess it's not exactly an analogy, but they were so busy infighting that I think some messages were missed. We're so busy with the political.
Yep.
That they
you're right, Gail. You're right, Gail. We talked about it. That's how the rabbis kind of took responsibility for it, was that the first temple was destroyed because we were worshiping other gods. The second temple because of our own baseless hatred of each other, our own infighting. And that's what we've said before, and that's what Israelis have said before, that what will destroy the current country of Israel is infighting, and is the inability for Israel to come together. So Rosemary's coming in right now. I guess I don't know if Margot's coming in. Is Margot coming?
Yes, she's on her way. She's about 10 seconds behind.
All right, so Margot is coming in. So I'm gonna have her read this, which is from her cousin. Margot has a cousin whose family, her cousin didn't survive the Holocaust, but his parents did. It's her cousin. And her cousin lives in a kibbutz right next to Gaza. So I'm going to have her read Margot, who survived the last time that Jewish life was not valued. I'm going to have her read this from her cousin. And here she is. Margot, you made it. We're glad you're here, Margot. I'm going to have her. So I'm not going to have her read the whole part of what happened over the last few days. Margot, I'm giving them your introduction. So I want you to read your cousin's thing right now. We were waiting for you. Remember how you said you would read it? I am talking to you. Margot, I'm talking to you and I'm talking to everybody else. Will you read what your cousin wrote?
Yes.
I have it right here. I have it up here on the computer. I want you to start from where he talks about his kibbutz. Come here. Come, we're waiting for you. So again, for people who haven't met Margot before, she's written about the experience. Yeah. Do you want to sit on a chair?
I
Yeah.
have it with me too.
Okay, here, let me give you this chair to sit on. Hold it. Let me give you this chair. No, I have it up here. I just
Doesn't mean that with my macular
I know.
degeneration.
So and you just have to sit down and I'll make it as big as you need it to be.
Oh,
Take your time. So
well, I felt it.
I know. I don't want to
Name it.
I don't want to see it, but don't show me now.
There's nothing to see.
Okay.
And if there was, there wouldn't be.
Okay, hold it a second. Here's the microphone. Now, I need to make it bigger, right?
That blue is annoying.
Okay, so let me make it bigger for you. Can you read that?
I can read my own.
Well, read this. Can you read it or not? Because I already have it up. Is that big enough?
Where
This is
does
what
it
you're- it'll be
start?
Small kibbutz. Start from there.
Let me see it from the beginning and.
I don't have it from the beginning. I just
Oh.
cut and pasted this. Okay, this is, I already introduced it.
Well,
This is for
the light is shining on it.
Here.
Why can't I use mine?
You can. Where is it?
It's in my
Okay.
walker.
All right.
Or you want me to start the whole thing on that?
However you want to do it, Margot.
Whatever you want.
So then read it right here.
Hmm?
Read it right here.
No, it's in the walker. It's very sweet, but I can't read like, I can't use that.
Okay, it's okay.
It's certain lights, you know. It's. What a thing.
You want me to read it? Or do you want to read it? You want to read it?
Oh, really? Can I sit over there?
Yeah, but you don't want to read it from here. I want them to see you.
It's nothing much to see.
Okay,
believe me.
stop it, Margot.
You coming to lunch with us?
I don't know. But right, you're on camera, Margot. Here,
Oh,
you're on. Here, there you are. Everyone can see you now. All right.
okay.
Read it.
You want me to read it down?
Yes,
Oh, before anybody comes.
everybody's here. They're all online. Everybody else is online. Just read it. Yes.
Can
we've
I
been waiting
make a
for it.
few statements first?
Sure.
The reason that I want to read a letter that a cousin of mine wrote from the Gaza Strip is because he tried so hard to make Israel the home for everyone. He is a relative of mine, obviously. I call him a cousin, but he's a third cousin. He was born in Halle in Germany, as I was. His parents were Holocaust survivors, but they left very early and decided that Hitler was probably going to be a huge menace in Germany. And so they took their family and moved to Africa, where my cousin Ralph, whose letter I'm going to read, was born. And he felt that Africa was his home for many, many, many years. And then when the Holocaust ended, he decided that his real home had to be Israel. And he moved to a small kibbutz in the Gaza Strip and married and had his family and became an Israeli, and Israel was everything. He often represented Israel in political situations in different countries. He was asked by the government often to negotiate things. And he was a lively, happy Israeli. And this is what he wrote. I just got it the other day. He titles it Hell on Earth. 6:30 Saturday morning. It started with a not uncommon severe barrage of rockets on the Israeli communities on the border with Gaza. At the same time, hundreds of heavily armed terrorists broke through the border and attacked numerous civilian communities. After 36 hours, there are women and children who barricaded themselves in their bomb shelters. They each, on the small kibbutz where he lived, they each had a bomb shelter. And so these people barricaded themselves in there. The terrorists went door to door and murdered and took hostages back to Gaza, including whole families with children. We saw them running outside our house, dressed in black, shooting nonstop. In my small kibbutz, there were tens of dead and abducted. Our emergency response volunteers were nearly all murdered. The volunteers were all murdered, abducted, or wounded. Many homes were occupied and families held hostage. A good friend, daughter, husband, and baby were murdered in front of their two older children. They were murdered in front of their two older children, who hid in the cupboard and called their grandmother, who was overseas. The only way to give support to the two kids was for a social worker to be on the line with them for many hours as they were in the room with the bodies of their family until the army managed to get them. No ambulances could get through. Those that tried, the paramedics were killed and the ambulances hijacked in Gaza. My daughter, who lives on a different part of the kibbutz, was without electricity for almost 18 hours. Cell phone battery ran out, so we had no contact with her for about 12 hours, fearing for her life. She was eventually extracted by the army and is now safe. My son and family, again in another area of the kibbutz, was finally extracted by the army and taken to safety as well, after almost 24 hours of hell. We were in our bomb shelter all the time, surrounded by constant shooting and explosions. It's really hard. We had no internet connection, no phone reception, and some without electricity for almost 18 hours. Eventually, army units entered the homes to extract the families and kill the terrorists. With me, they broke into the house through a window, a moment of great fear when you didn't know if they're soldiers or if they're terrorists. They collected us in small groups and under heavy guard led us to houses which eventually evacuated us out of the war zone. There was constantly heavy fire around us, and we had to take cover in a bunker for a little while. On the way to the buses, we passed teams of burned out vehicles, bodies lying on the street. Bodies lying on the street. Launchers, AK-47 rifles, grenades, and so on. Now we're in a lodge for a few days, trying to catch our breath and lower the level of trauma. My wife, son, daughter, and 3 grandchildren all managed to get out alive, which is unbelievable. Most were not that fortunate. There are still pockets of terrorists in the area, and the kibbutz is deserted. We can't even bury our dead. As an African born, the wilds of Africa have taught me many things. One lesson is that an injured beast, an injured animal, is much more dangerous than a healthy one. Israel is now an injured beast.
So Margot, you had a chance to process this over the last few days. And as a survivor, as somebody who lived through the darkest chapter of Jewish history firsthand, and were able to witness and survive the hell of that experience in a country that you grew up and loved. You were part of you were part of community and went to school with kids that all of a sudden turned on you. You've written about that before, but when you see this happening again for the second time in your life, how do you make sense of it?
On the way here, when Rosemary gave me a ride, I told her I feel as though perhaps this isn't happening. Maybe I'm living in a sort of non-existence, that this can't be going on again. And then on the other hand, I feel the viciousness, the hatred. I'm terrified. But a great deal of the time, I'm feeling almost in a psychotic state. This isn't going on. This is not helping.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I have no idea what you're going to ask. I was pretty sure you feel exactly the same way as I do right now, which is that this is a horrible nightmare that you keep thinking that you're going to wake up from, and it's not. It didn't really happen. But I'm going to ask you a question. I really don't know, and I'm not saying this because I have any idea what you're going to say or what you're thinking about.
Okay.
This. What?
We can't see Margot's face.
Okay, let me look. No, I got it. Yeah. So, whoa,
Well.
so, yeah, I hit the wrong button. So Margot, you have long, I think, especially in this country, you've been here almost all your life. And you've done a lot for the community as a teacher, as an educator, as a writer. I'm gonna ask you something. You are definitely politically on the more liberal end of the spectrum, right?
Way over.
So let me ask you a question. How do you process this issue, which is that it's right now, a lot of people on the left are making apologies for this. How do you process that?
They're making apologies?
Yeah.
Apologies for what?
For, that Israel is an occupying power and this is what happens. How does somebody, not only who's a survivor, but how does somebody who's proudly affiliated and considers yourself on the liberal end of the spectrum, how does somebody who has those ideals and those values make sense of people who are making excuses for this on the more liberal end of the spectrum?
I think it's an oversimplified question,
Well, let me ask you, so there's
not on your
no,
part.
there's a counter demonstration now that's been scheduled because we're doing this. Did you know that?
Yes,
Did you know?
Mm.
How did you know?
because somebody called me to ask me to take part.
Right. So what do you say? What do you say to that? I'm not asking for an oversimplification, but what do you say to somebody who says, I want you to take part in a demonstration for the Palestinians today, instead of going to support Israel? I mean, what's your response to that? That's what I'm asking.
For many, many years during my adult life, I have never understood this division of Palestine, Israel, India, Pakistan.
Yeah.
All the different countries. I'm against, maybe the FBI will come in at this point.
But I'm asking you a question. So when somebody
I'm-
called you to be on there, what was your answer?
No,
Because
I don't believe that we should have different sections, different countries. It's, they're each guilty of something.
okay, so do you tell so when somebody says, I want you to be at the support of Palestine, you say,
In certain areas. In certain part, it's always for the children, I'm thinking. The children were propagandized. Those Palestinians who were propagandized as children, I don't know if they're guilty of anything or what. I think the Israelis, on the other hand, have tried to protect those who've been in need of home and to have a place to go. After all, we're only 1% of the population of the world. But there are things about the Israelis that
no, I understand, but was it hard for you to hear after reading this from your cousin? Was it hard for you to hear somebody call you did you send them this letter from your cousin? Did you say, hey, I have family that just survived this pogrom?
well, that's so beyond anything, so beyond anything that I feel it's horrendous.
But did you say that to the person who asked you to come to
Yes,
you said, I have a letter from my cousin I want to share with you?
I said it.
Yeah.
I'll say anything that I feel right now because I feel I've nothing to lose anymore. I've lost everything.
Do you think you'll lose friends over this?
One of my best friends, one of the residents of this town here, told me, after hearing all this, I've decided to become a voter for Trump. I couldn't believe it. I thought, what are you saying? And she's not talking to me anymore. I feel that nothing is real. This can't be happening, but it is. I felt the same way in Germany when I was so afraid. I thought, they're coming to get my grandfather tonight. They're coming to get him. This can't be happening. This isn't happening. I'm living in a sort of never land. It doesn't exist. And yet I know it's there. I'm standing up for my people, my Jewish people, although I'm not a religious type. But if they weren't Jewish, if I was back in India, and if the Pakistanis had done what they had done, and they had done similar things to Hindus, I felt the same way.
Mhm.
I don't know who to stand up for anymore. The murderers, they have severe problems. I can't just say that they're horrible people. They were systematically taught. I know that.
Yep. Well, unfortunately, Margot, you had to live through this 2 times. Two
I'm not,
times.
if I even lived through it, I'm not sure I'm here.
Yeah.
I just want this,
Well,
I want pacifism.
if you're able to come tonight, I'm going to have you stand next to me as a survivor who lived through this, because we've talked about your grandfather being taken away from you on Kristallnacht. And
Well, that's not all. There are things I haven't told.
yeah.
And this might as well a good time as any. My mother and I were in Bremerhaven, where the ship was to take us to the United States.
Yeah, I know this story, and
You don't want me to tell that.
I look, you started, so you can, I mean,
hear it.
you want to finish it, so.
Well, they thought my mother was a spy. And they took her to a place to examine her, and she was not a spy. And then they thought perhaps I was the spy. And I was a little girl, and they examined me in a way that a little girl should not be examined. But as we boarded the ship, the real spy was found and shot in front of us. When I've seen things like that, seen my grandfather beaten, seen my grandfather hit on the back with a billy club, seen my grandmother become hysterically blind for a year. When I played with a little girl that I didn't want to play with because she wet her pants at 11 years of age. Why did she wet her pants? Because she was in fear all the time, in fear that she would be murdered or killed. Imagine these people in at the Gaza. Imagine being told that we're going to take you, we're going to abduct you, we're going to torture you. Better yet, we'll line you up and we'll kill you one at a time. Breaking into houses, hurting children. I don't know what to think. It can't be happening. It isn't happening. It isn't. It isn't. I just wanted you to hear what my very brave cousin had said, what he had seen. I didn't want you to hear it from a journalist.
I didn't want you to hear a very concisely written letter from somebody in Israel, not telling everything. I want you to know I'm sitting here, a human being, I suppose, but I'm not sure I'm alive. I'm not sure this is happening. I'm just not sure. This can't be. This can't be. And another part of me feels we've been taught incorrectly. We think there's something called good, that if we only behave and if we only are ethical and moral, everything will be all right. Seems to be the more ethical and moral you are, the more you're being punished. So what good is that?
Well, Margot,
I just feel you're talking to somebody who's not here.
Margot, I'll tell you this, you've lived in this world for a long time, and for most of it, most of those, I'm not gonna say how many, 90 plus years, but
96. And what's that?
so, yes, but for most of those 96 years, you lived an ethical life and you lived a life of goodness. And most of it was devoted to other people and good, and you did spread a lot of goodness, and the world is a better place. This stuff now is not going to be, it's not going to go without consequence, and it is happening far less than it was when you were a child. So again, just to put that perspective of what that story was that Margot told you, and that was obviously a child remembering something that happened over 80 years ago, but that was her last moments in Germany before she left and got on that boat to come to America. That was her last moment being raped in
She wasn't raped.
you
I was raped.
in Germany, and your last moments before you left your home
Right.
in Bremen. So as you boarded your ship to come here. So yeah, we're not going to be going back to the
No.
text. No, we're not going back to our
We have to
normal
go to this.
to our normal scheduled events today with our class. I was hoping Margot would be able to be here. I'm hoping, Margot, you'll be able to, if you're feeling well and up to it, to be with us tonight, because the whole Jewish community's come together. Beth Shalom, Chabad, places that you've been to, all the synagogues here in Santa Clarita over the years. You've participated in education and in just being yourself, sharing your story and sharing your love with other people at all those synagogues. So we hope I know all of the rabbis who helped put this together tonight. All of us would love to see you tonight if you're able to come, as a testament also to Jewish survival, the fact that we're going to survive this.
I have to ask you what survival is.
Well, I don't know, but I will tell you that the countless hours that I've spent with you are testament to the fact that life is worth living, and most of it, if we have a chance to build a world that's ethical and good, is worth living. There's not always good times. This is one of the darkest ever, but even in that, most of it has to be, we have to do our part to make most of it good. So, and you've done that. So, you've done that. So, yeah, there's difficult days ahead. This is not over. There's going to be times where our humanity are going to be tried. Our our feelings of how do we stand with Israel when Israel is going to obviously be on the giving end of bloodshed now, and that's just a fact. It's what I wrote about in the Signal. Some of you obviously read the piece that I wrote that day, which was not really based on anything other than what I felt at the moment, which really hasn't changed as of now. But I do just want to finish today with a piece that I shared with you in that article, and it's something that I know that people here have read. Maybe you've read it before. I posted it, and I'll also again remind you that I posted it on our Facebook page. So if you want to share it with other people, you don't have to share my words, but I'd like you at least to share Golda Meir's words, because Golda's words are going to be what we're thinking about in the coming days. Because the next phase of what our time is going to be like, watching this news and not being able to be there and not being able really to do anything, and watching the counter, how this is going to end up, when none of us know how it's going to end up, but we hope it ends up with some sense of peace and maybe a reality that'll be different. But again, what Golda Meir said 50 years ago after the Yom Kippur War, when peace comes, we will perhaps in time be able to forgive the Arabs for killing our sons, but it will be harder for us to forgive them for having forced us to kill their sons. Peace will come when the Arabs will love their children more than they hate us. And unfortunately, those words are as true today as they were 50 years ago. And we hope one day they will be a testament to the way things were in history, and not the way things are. So, as I said, the current enemies of the Jewish people and of Israel, and remember, they were not screaming death to Israel, they were screaming death to Jews. That's you and I, and that's not just the people who live in Israel. The people who are going to war against us now will end up the same way the Nazis ended up, the same way the Romans ended up, the same way that everyone who's gone to war against the Jewish people have ended up destroyed and defeated and part of history. And the Jewish people will continue on. So that's why we finish with the words Am Yisrael Chai. The people of Israel live, the nation of Israel lives now, thankfully, to defend us and to make sure that, again, there's going to be a consequence for taking Jewish lives. That Jewish lives will not be victimized and will not be able to be taken without a consequence, without justice. That Jewish girls will not be raped anymore without a consequence. So we're not happy about the consequence. We're not praising the consequence. We're not celebrating the consequence. But there will be consequences and there will be justice. And that's the difference today. It doesn't make it easier and it doesn't help necessarily the victims, but it does give us a sense of balance and hopefully, again, a hope that eventually people will stop doing it because they know there'll be a consequence. So with that, I want to just wish everyone, again, not really kind of the end of this time today, but I personally, after this experience, I have to recover. So I can't, I can't continue to do what we were going to do today. So I hope that by tomorrow night, when we have our Wednesday night class, that we'll be back studying Torah and doing the kinds of more life affirming things that we do when we study Torah. But today, the text that we studied was the text of your cousin in the kibbutz right on the border with Gaza, the text you just shared with us. The text of your story that you shared with us, that you haven't shared with a lot of people, of your last moments in Germany. And again, the text of one of the great heroes of Jewish history and one of the great heroes of Israel, Golda Meir. So again, we wish everyone shalom for the rest of the day, and hopefully we'll see you tonight.
Good luck
Bye,
tonight.
everybody.
I
We're
wish I
gonna
was
get-
there.
Well, you're with us in spirit, John, and I know
Me
you've been
too.
concerned. I've told people there will be security there. The sheriffs know about it. The city council knows about it.
Live stream it on Facebook.
We're live streaming it. It'll be on ours. It'll be in Vimeo. Yeah, it'll be on YouTube. You'll be able to see it streaming. So thank you, Margot, for being here and coming out. And thank you for your strength, your amazing life of nearly a century here on this planet. It is something to celebrate.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you, Rosemary, for bringing her. Yeah, I mean, look, Margot just had her birthday about 6 weeks ago. So we were pretty happy that we had her birthday. We'll give you a ride tonight. Don't worry. That's easy.
And a personal bodyguard, eh?
A personal bodyguard. She's my bodyguard. What are you talking about? She's gonna, yes, we're not off yet, but no, it's okay. I said you're my bodyguard tonight. All right, Margot.
I'll be your bodyguard.
Yeah, you'll take care.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank
All
you
right, thank
very
you.
much.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Let's go to a lecture on the door, the new opera.
Oh.